Last episode for this week. Blue time. Hello. Sorry, I didn't say hello. How's it going? Good week? Bad week? If you had a good week, I'm glad. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I hope next week will be better for you. Sometimes all we can do is take it one day at a time. One brush stroke at a time. 1 minute at a time. Or like Dom Toretto, a quarter mile at a time. I think one of the funniest things about the Fast and the Furious movies is that Dom Toretto used to be obsessed with Corona and now he's not. I mean, obviously there must have been a Corona sponsorship that ended. But in that first movie, they go to Dom's house and he's like, "You can have anything you want to drink as long as it's Corona. That's all I've got. That's all anyone will drink in my presence." They have all those barbecues in his backyard, and the only thing available to drink is Corona. And then he just kind of stopped caring about Corona. It's not even like he stopped caring about Corona and started caring about family, because he always cared about family. It's like, what did Corona do to you, Dom? Why am I talking about this? I'm sorry. Oh, we're trying to have a chill time here today. Inking lines, trusting the pencil, letting the pencil do the work for me. And you know, as usual, my pencil wasn't perfect. But that's okay. Oh, you know who it is who does a perfect job every time? Nobody. I'm not 100% happy with that. But I live in a digital world, so I can come back and adjust it later. It just is not quite enough going on in terms of the 3D suggestion of the 3D shapes. I'm not going to open my mouth and show you my teeth, but you know, the way that teeth sit in the gums and sit in the jawbone, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So we'll come back for that. That kind of fiddly thing I can figure out at the ink level, and it'll be fine. Neato. So I've made a decision about this, which is that these are going to be like wide bands of black. So it'll let me do that. And it'll let me black these in. And there's going to be more. My first thought is that this looks a little bit too plain from an ink perspective. And like, I like a dig on this vibe, not so much on this as a whole, so maybe this is what I'll work on today. We're at the fiddly detail point of our lives here. Remember, you can do whatever you want, no one can stop you. Yeah, just like looking at that side by side, the two halves. I like this one better. Trust your instincts. You should always trust your instincts when you're drawing. 2 reasons. One, you're probably right. 2, if you're wrong, you will have learned something about how to interpret your instincts. Because for me, that's like, people talk about like having a gut feeling about something. Especially in fiction, I feel like the way that's written is just like, I intrinsically know the thing to do. I feel it in my jimmies. Which is like, I don't really think that that's how it works. I feel like it's more like, you feel a certain way, some set of stimuli is presented to you, and you feel a certain way, and you don't necessarily know how to process that verbally in a way that makes sense. And so you maybe take an action that seems kind of irrational, and you say it's based on a gut feeling, because you're acting on an impulse that you don't entirely understand. And if that pans out to be wrong, you might think to yourself, well, I have bad instincts. And I would say it's more along the lines of you just are not entirely sure how to interpret them correctly yet. And so maybe the next time you get a feeling, you're presented with a set of stimuli. If you're presented with a set of stimuli and you take an action and that action ends up being wrong, and you did it based on a gut feeling, right? Well, it's not like you're never going to have that gut feeling again. But maybe the next time you have it, you'll understand a little bit better how to respond to it. I talked about lines of understanding when I was doing pencil stage, and when you're inking, something you should keep in mind as well, because you can put these kind of little details that show you understand the 3D aspects of the shape. And this is stuff that I'm just doing freehand, because I do understand the 3D aspects of the shape, and I can see that they're not coming through the way that I've inked it. So, I'm going back and I'm adding in those things that demonstrate what the 3D shape is. His teeth are kind of cylindrical. And so are the cavities that they fit into. And the way that bone wraps is real cool. And kind of the added benefit of doing this is, a skull is a creepy looking thing, right? So kind of adding these little details and hashes really just increases that creep factor. It's got to vibe right. It's a vibes-based economy, and it's got to vibe right. And we're just gonna darken this up because you want your strongest lines to be over the features that you really want to have an impact, and the teeth in a skull are going to have a big impact. So we're going to darken those lines up. Sweet! Eye sockets, teeth, nasal cavity. I mean, look at the side by side, the low detail versus the high detail. I'm a pretty low detail guy in a lot of ways, but sometimes you just got to recognize when you need to get in there and do some dirty deets. Dirty deets. Cool. Let's turn the pencil back on just to make sure I'm not doing anything particularly egregious. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright. When we come back in the tone pass, we're going to do a lot of work with the skull too, just because there's a lot of features that are sunken into it. And we'll see a lot more of the topographical features of it when we do that. Technically, that's a mistake that I made there. I wanted to just thicken the line, but I kind of like the extra jog of it. Gives it some texture. Gonna leave it. Can always change it back later if I want. Melinoe's Ghost Hand is not going to have ink lines on it when I reach the color stage. I'm not even going to do it right now. I will ink it in black at some point, but I'm going to do it on a different layer because we want the ghost arm to actually just be be color, because we are going to do color on this drawing. We are going to do tone on this drawing. We want the arm, because it's ghostly, to just be color. So think about that later. Go up to the head. Always feels good to hit a curve, right? I forget what artist. Some legendary artist of sorts, supposedly, like, performing for the Pope, I think, is one of the funniest things. And if you don't believe me, look up the troupe of performers that played Megalovania for the Pope. It's the funniest thing. Anyways, there was some artist. I can't remember who it was. I'll look it up for next time, maybe. Or maybe you can look it up yourself, because it doesn't really matter. But some artist that performed for the Pope. An artist. And they performed for the Pope by drawing a perfect circle freehand. And I think to myself, what it must have felt like to hit that curve right on the first try, in front of the Pope, no less. Do look up that video of the people playing Megalovania for the Pope, though. It's very funny. Because they're just like, A, they're playing Megalovania. B, just going absolutely nuts on this performance in a completely empty hall where the only person watching is some dude in a white robe sitting on a throne. Very funny. Alright. That's it for today. Don't look up there, look down here. That's what we accomplished. More changes are obviously going to come through the drawing. Maybe things will speed up a little bit now. I say that every time and I'm always wrong. But I'm happy with how this is progressing. It may seem like it's slow going, mostly because I just like talking to you, and that's the show. If it was just me sitting here drawing as fast as I possibly could, that wouldn't be the show. That would be my work day. But I'm glad that you could join me today. I'm glad you can join me this week. And, next week we're going to take this drawing and keep running with it. Eventually we'll finish it. And in the meantime, play Hades 2 because it's fun. It's only in early access, but the game is pretty polished for early access. So anyways, it was great drawing for you, and I'll see you next time.